My son sold my house without telling me, and when he proudly handed me the papers, I simply smiled. He thought he had won. He had no idea what would happen next. Before we begin, if you enjoy emotional family stories filled with betrayal, justice, and unexpected twists, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Now let me tell you what really happened. My name is Margaret Wilson. I'm 68 years old, and until last spring, I believed I knew my son better than anyone else. I spent almost 40 years living in the same house outside Columbus, Ohio. Every room held a memory. My late husband, Robert, and I raised our only child, Daniel, there. We celebrated birthdays in the backyard, watched snow fall through the kitchen window every winter, and planted an oak tree the day Daniel turned 5. After Robert passed away 6 years ago, the house became my comfort. It wasn't just a building. It was the last place where I still felt close to him. Daniel visited every Sunday. He always brought coffee and talked about work. He often told me, "Mom, you shouldn't worry about anything anymore. I'll take care of you." I believed every word. When my knees started bothering me, Daniel insisted on helping with paperwork. "Mom," he said one afternoon, "keeping up with taxes and insurance is confusing. Let me organize everything." I was grateful. He picked up my mail, renewed insurance forms, and even helped me log into my online banking whenever I forgot a password. Looking back now, I realize he was learning far more than I ever intended him to know. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then his visits became less about spending time together and more about asking questions. Have you ever thought about downsizing? You don't really need a 4-bedroom house. Property values are high right now. Every conversation somehow returned to the house. I laughed it off. "I'm staying here until the day I leave this world." He smiled. "We'll see." Those 2 words stayed with me much longer than they should have. A month later, Daniel arrived with his wife, Ashley. She rarely visited before. That afternoon, she walked through every room as if she were inspecting it. "What beautiful hardwood floors," she said. "This kitchen could be amazing after remodeling." She wasn't talking like a guest. She sounded like someone imagining ownership. Something inside me felt uneasy. Still, I ignored it. Families have strange conversations sometimes. I didn't want to become one of those mothers who imagined betrayal where none existed. A few weeks later, Daniel offered to handle all my mail while I recovered from minor knee surgery. "It'll make life easier." Again, I trusted him. After surgery, I stayed with my sister Helen for 10 days. When I came home, little things felt different. Some drawers had been opened. A file cabinet wasn't locked. Important papers seemed slightly out of order. Daniel laughed when I mentioned it. "You probably just forgot where you left things." Maybe I had, or maybe I wanted to believe I had. Life went on. Until one Friday morning, a black SUV pulled into my driveway. A young couple stepped out, smiling as they admired the front porch. I assumed they had the wrong address. The man walked toward me. "Good morning. We're excited to finally meet you." I frowned. "I'm sorry. Have we met before?" "No," he replied cheerfully. "We're just happy the closing went through so smoothly." I stared at him. "What closing?" He looked confused. "The purchase of the house." For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then I laughed. "I'm afraid you've been scammed. This house isn't for sale." The couple exchanged worried looks. The woman slowly reached into her purse. She pulled out a folder. Inside was a stack of legal documents. On the first page, my home address, my signature, and a completed sale agreement. I felt every bit of color leave my face. "That's impossible." The man hesitated. "Your son handled everything. He said you preferred not to attend the closing because of your health." "My son, Daniel." I thanked the couple politely and asked if I could keep my composure while they returned to their car for a few minutes. The moment they walked away, I closed my front door. I stood alone in my living room. I looked around at every photograph, Every picture of Robert, every birthday, every Christmas. Then I quietly placed my hand on the dining room table my husband built 30 years earlier. I expected myself to cry. I expected to scream. Instead, I became completely calm, so calm that it surprised even me, because in that moment, one thought entered my mind. Daniel believed this story was already over. He had absolutely no idea. It had only just begun. I sat in my living room for nearly an hour without moving. The silence felt heavier than ever before. On the mantel above the fireplace stood Robert's photograph. He was smiling in the same way he always had. Calm, patient, thoughtful. I looked at his picture and quietly whispered, "I won't let anger make my decisions." That promise changed everything. Instead of calling Daniel, I called an attorney. His name was Michael Harper, an estate lawyer my husband and I had worked with years earlier. When I explained what had happened, he interrupted me only once. "Margaret," he said carefully, "don't confront anyone yet. Bring every document you have. Let me see the facts first." That afternoon, I carried an old storage box filled with papers into his office. For almost 2 hours, Michael examined every page. Finally, he removed his glasses. "I think your son made a very serious mistake." My heart raced. "What do you mean?" He slid one document across the desk. "This signature doesn't look consistent." I stared at it. At first glance, it looked like mine, but then I noticed tiny differences. The curve in my last name, the way the letter M leaned. Someone had practiced writing my signature. Someone who had seen it hundreds of times. Daniel Michael didn't accuse him directly. He simply said, "If these documents were signed without your knowledge, we're dealing with fraud." Fraud. I never imagined hearing that word connected to my own son, Michael continued. "Before we do anything, I need you to promise me something." "What?" "Don't let Daniel know we're investigating." I nodded. "I can do that." For the first time since that morning, I felt something stronger than heartbreak. I felt purpose. Over the next week, I acted exactly as Daniel expected. I answered his phone calls. I thanked him for checking on me. I even invited him over for Sunday dinner. When he walked into my house, he acted completely normal, too normal. He hugged me. "How's your knee, Mom?" "Much better." He smiled. I'm glad. I watched his face carefully. Not once did he mention the sale. Not once did he ask if anyone had visited. It was almost impressive. Ashley arrived a few minutes later carrying a pie. She looked around the dining room. "You really have such a beautiful place." The words sounded different now, almost like a goodbye. During dinner, Daniel casually asked, "Have you thought any more about moving somewhere smaller?" I smiled. "Actually, I've been thinking a lot lately." His eyes brightened. "Oh, maybe you're right." Ashley nearly dropped her fork. I continued, "a person my age doesn't need such a big house." Daniel tried to hide his excitement. "I've been saying that for years." "I know." Then I changed the subject. Neither of them noticed that I had learned something important. They believed I still knew nothing. That was exactly where I wanted them. The following Monday, Michael called. "I've found something." I drove straight to his office. He handed me copies of bank records. "The money from the house sale never entered your account." I frowned. "Where did it go?" He pointed to another document. A new account opened only 3 months ago. The account holder's name made my stomach tighten. Daniel Wilson. Not a joint account, not a trust. His personal account. The sale had brought in almost $620,000. Every dollar had gone directly to him. I closed my eyes. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't a paperwork mistake. My own son had planned this. Michael spoke softly. "It gets worse." He showed me another document. Daniel had already signed a contract to purchase a luxury home in Florida. The down payment came from the money he had taken from me. I remembered every Sunday coffee, every promise, every "I'll take care of you." None of it had been real. Or maybe it had been real once. Somewhere along the way, Greed had replaced love. That evening, I drove past Daniel's house. I didn't stop, but I noticed a moving truck parked outside. Neighbors were helping load furniture. They were leaving. Fast, they thought they had won. Back home, I made tea and sat on my porch until sunset. Helen came over after dinner. She had always been more than my sister. She was my best friend. When I told her everything, tears filled her eyes. I can't believe Daniel would do this. Neither can I. What are you going to do? I looked across the yard toward the old oak tree Robert and I had planted decades ago. I'm going to let the truth do the work. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You still love him. I nodded. I always will. But loving someone doesn't mean protecting them from the consequences of their choices. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The next morning, Michael called again. The title company agreed to cooperate. What does that mean? It means they're giving us every email, every signed document, every phone recording connected to the sale. I felt hope growing. Then he added one more sentence. Margaret, one recording changed everything. What recording? The conversation where Daniel claimed you were mentally confused and couldn't attend the closing. I couldn't breathe. My own son had told strangers I wasn't capable of making my own decisions, just to steal my home. Michael lowered his voice. When this reaches court, that recording will matter. I thanked him and ended the call. For several minutes, I simply stared out the kitchen window. Daniel thought he had erased me from my own life. He thought paperwork could erase 40 years of memories. He was wrong, because while he was busy spending my money, he had no idea that every lie he told had left behind another piece of evidence, and very soon, those pieces would fit together in a way he never expected. The weeks that followed were the hardest of my life. I still slept in my house, but every morning I wondered how much longer I would be allowed to stay there. The young couple who believed they had bought the property turned out to be kind people. They had no idea they had been caught in the middle of a family betrayal. When Michael contacted them and explained that the sale was under legal investigation, they cooperated immediately. We don't want a house that was taken from someone, the husband told me. We're sorry this happened. For the first time in weeks, I felt that not everyone had lost their sense of right and wrong. Michael filed the lawsuit. He warned me that these cases could take months. Justice isn't always fast, he said. But when the evidence is this strong, patience usually wins. I nodded. After everything that had happened, patience was something I had learned very well. A few days later, my phone rang Daniel. I answered calmly. Hi, Mom. Hello, Daniel. You sound tired. I've had a busy week. He hesitated. I wanted to tell you something. Oh, Ashley and I are moving to Florida. I know. There was silence. You know? I've heard it's beautiful this time of year. He laughed nervously. Yeah, we're excited. I wished him safe travels and ended the call. He still believed I knew nothing. That was the last peaceful conversation we ever had. 3 days later, a court order froze the money from the house sale before Daniel could spend the rest of it. His Florida purchase was canceled. His bank accounts were restricted while the investigation continued. That afternoon, he appeared at my front door without calling. His face was red with anger. What did you do? I opened the door just enough to speak. I don't know what you mean. My accounts are frozen. I see. Did you call a lawyer? Yes. He stared at me as if he were looking at a stranger. You've ruined everything. I looked him straight in the eyes. No, Daniel. You ruined everything the day you decided your mother was worth less than a paycheck. For the first time in his life, he had no answer. He simply turned around and walked away. Months later, the case finally reached court. I wasn't interested in revenge through shouting or humiliation. I wanted the truth. Daniel sat across the courtroom without looking at me. Ashley avoided my eyes completely. The title company's representatives testified. The handwriting expert explained how my signature had been copied. Bank employees confirmed where the money had gone. Then came the recording. The courtroom became completely silent. Daniel's voice filled the room. My mother is getting confused. It's easier if I sign everything for her. Then another sentence. She won't understand the paperwork anyway. I closed my eyes. Hearing those words hurt more than losing the house. The judge listened carefully to every piece of evidence. After several hours, he announced a short recess. When everyone returned, he delivered his decision. The property sale was declared invalid because it had been obtained through fraud. Ownership of my home was immediately restored. The buyers would receive their money back through the legal process. Then the judge looked directly at Daniel. He spoke calmly. Stealing from a stranger is a crime. Stealing from the parent who trusted you is something even more tragic. Daniel lowered his head. That was the first time I had seen him ashamed. Outside the courthouse, reporters gathered near the entrance. I ignored every camera. This wasn't about becoming a headline. It was about getting my life back. Over the following months, Daniel accepted a plea agreement that included financial restitution, probation, and hundreds of hours of community service. He also had to repay legal costs connected to the fraudulent sale. He lost the Florida house he dreamed about. He lost most of his savings. More importantly, he lost the trust that had taken a lifetime to build. Ashley left him less than a year later. According to friends, she said she could never again believe anything he told her. Some people called that karma. I simply called it consequences. As for me, I stayed exactly where I belonged. The oak tree Robert and I planted still stands in the backyard. Every spring, new leaves appear. Whenever I sit beneath it, I remember something my husband used to say. Character isn't tested when life is easy. It's tested when doing the wrong thing seems profitable. I finally understood what he meant. People often ask whether I ever forgave Daniel. The answer's complicated. I let go of my anger because carrying it only hurt me. But forgiveness does not erase responsibility. Trust, once broken, cannot be rebuilt with words alone. Nearly 2 years after the trial, Daniel asked if we could meet for coffee. He looked older than I remembered. Life had humbled him. He apologized without making excuses. He admitted that he had convinced himself I would never find out. He believed that because I was getting older, I wouldn't fight back. I was wrong, he whispered. Yes, I answered. You were. We talked for nearly an hour. I didn't promise that everything would return to the way it once was. Some things never do. But I told him one thing before we left. If you truly want another chance, don't spend your life telling people you've changed. Spend it proving it. Whether he will, only time can answer. As for me, every morning I unlock my own front door. I make coffee in the same kitchen. I watch the sunrise through the same window Robert loved. The house is still mine. Not because I fought with anger, but because I chose patience, truth, and the law over revenge driven by emotion. And in the end, that became the strongest revenge of all. If this story touched you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you have done if someone you trusted betrayed you like this? Share your answer in the comments below. And if you enjoy stories about family, justice, and unexpected twists, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.